Good morning. Okay, give me like 5 seconds. Okay. Done. Can't even get mad. Touch ID is a beautiful thing. Okay, good morning. So the title of my message today is Be Real. For those of you that don't know, Be Real is an app, fairly new. And you get a notification, it's like, like a fun little sound, and it's telling you you have 2 minutes to be real. The purpose of it is to catch your reality, because a lot of times people take the time to do the perfect lighting, make sure my hair is parted correctly, make sure my shoes look good with my jeans, right? And you take time to filter your photo. Be Real gives you 2 minutes, and they want you to capture your moment. So if you capture front camera, you're also going to get what's behind you. If you capture what's behind you, make sure you're not making a face, because you're going to get caught on this side too. And if you're longer than 2 minutes, everyone's notified that you're late. And then when they see that you're doing something really cool, they're like, yeah, they waited for that one. They wanted to look cool. That's what they wanted, right? So I'm just challenging today for everyone to be real and to capture the reality of their life. So this is very, even now, I did it once and I'm still like, my freshman year of high school was one of the darkest seasons of my life. And it literally rooted from social media. I think with what we've talked about depression, anxiety, and suicide. I think this can all wrap into one, that this is a very common source for all of those things. A very common source for depression, because you're comparing yourself and you don't feel good enough. Anxiety, because you never know what's going to get screenshotted. You never know what's getting taken. You never know what videos are being taken. And suicidal thoughts, because it just beats at you and beats at you and beats at you. So when they said that social media was a topic they wanted to touch on, I was like, me. Because one of my darkest seasons was because of social media. My freshman year of high school, someone who was supposed to be my best friend decided to make up a very ugly, nasty, awful rumor about me. Decided to tell the whole school that I was having intimate relationship with a guy in my school. That we were doing things that if my mama knew I was doing, I was dead. Let's put it into perspective there. Clear the air. I didn't. We're safe. We're good, right? But a lot of things happened where I wasn't innocent in the situation. So she goes to tell my youth pastors, hey, just thought you should know this. So we did, yada, yada, yada. And my youth pastor, and as good youth pastors do, youth students hear me, it's on a need-to-know basis. So they mosey on over to my house to tell my mom and dad. And I'm outside playing with my youth pastor's kids, like, oh, they're just having a meeting, no biggie. My mom comes stomping outside. I'm like, what is wrong with her? Did you yell about it? No, I didn't. Are you sure? Because I have this. And I was like, no, I promise, I'm just crying. Mama, what do you mean? Right? And so I then come inside and kind of get context like, where the heck did that come from? And she goes, well, they told me and so told them. And I was like, oh, dear me. Here we go. So then we go into all the stuff. They're looking at the quote-unquote evidence of the situation. And my mom's like, you better tell me the truth right now. This is the time, now or never, right? I'm like, I promise I didn't do it. Please believe me. And I'm just hurting. I don't know what to do. And then I have to go to school the next day. This happened on a Sunday, so I'm going right back into the game, right? In school with this person, and I have to face it on a Monday morning. We already know Mondays are not a good time, let alone dealing with all that junk, right? So I walk into school, and it had already begun. Zoe, did you see this? See what? I didn't have social media. Or so we thought. Anyways, I didn't have social media. Zoe, look at what they said. Oh, my gosh. And it's like a picture of me that I didn't even know was taken. And it was like, Zoe Snow's not who she says she is. If you know her, you don't. She's a fraud. She's a fake. And I'm like, what? Then a couple times later, a poll starts coming up, and it's like, how many of you believe Zoe did this? Or did Zoe do this or all of this? And I'm like, what on earth is this coming from? It is 9 a.m. on a Monday. Why am I having to deal with this when my coffee is still half full? Why? Right? But I was already a target because I was what people call a goody two-shoes. I did no wrong. I stuck by the rules. You never told me taking any risk. I said, tight pin. I have a path. I just got to graduate from here. That's all I got to do. But Snow was a well-known name because my parents are pastors in the city. My brother was at the school. We had a good name. We were Caden and Zoe Snow. We were it. We were in everything. We were on student council. We were doing the school announcements. We were emceeing events. Like, we were in. So I was already a target. Now I'm the pastor's kid who got caught doing an uh-oh. And she paid the guy to say I did it, so that he would go around and say it was true, so that one side was innocent and one side was guilty. That didn't help my case, did it? 50-50, you believe who you want. Again, social media just kept going and going and going and going. And I didn't know what to do. Later, it was discovered that I had social media. And I was talking like I shouldn't be talking. My mom should have washed my mouth out with soap. But she also discovered that it wasn't me on those messages saying, like, I feel funny, I need a test. I can't believe I did this. My parents are never going to forgive me. I'm so crazy. All these absurd, like, I did this, and this with him yesterday. No, I didn't. I was at powerlifting practice yesterday. You better keep your mouth shut, right? So they discovered very well that I was not talking like I should, but I wasn't that far. But my parents looked at me and said, because you lied about social media, you're going to have to earn my trust back. Let me tell you, I don't care if my parents tell me they're disappointed in me. Well, I do care. Mom and Dad, if you're watching, I do care. I don't care if they're mad at me. We'll get over it. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But when my parents look at me and tell me they can't trust me, it broke me. I had friends who said, you're not who you say you are. You're a fake. You're a fraud. The Post says it. He said it was true, so it has to be true. And they walked away from me, so I lost people. And I was never one to think about self-harm or suicide or anything like that. I turned to eating. I would go home. I would tell my friends to send me screenshots of the social media post, send me screenshots of their messages, the pictures that they would take of me in the hallway and make memes out of me. And I'd sit there, I'd gorge, and I'd sob. Why is this happening to me? Maybe I should just go do this, and this to make them feel better. And I gained weight that I couldn't even tell you the number. But I gorged. Little Debbie was my best friend, right? And I wouldn't eat at school so that I could stuff myself more when I got home alone in my world. My parents would be like, you want to watch a movie? No, I'm good. Go to my room. I was gaining so much weight that it really didn't help my case, because then it was, Zoe's getting bigger. Is she now going to start showing and we're all going to know she was lying the whole time? Bah! No, there ain't a baby with me. Absolutely not, right? So I was like, boop, cut it, right? So I ended up into one of my darkest places. I got anger issues. The girl was in one of my classes, and she would pick and pick and pick. And one day, I had had enough. And I turned around and I said, do you feel better about yourself? You know I didn't do it. You know I'm not guilty. Yet you still sit here and you say this, and this. I'm just going. And I end it with, maybe you're nothing. Zoe Snow now would be like, what on earth are you doing? You are acting a mess. So, now here's the thing. I wouldn't go back and wish that it didn't happen, even though it sucked, because I probably wouldn't be the person I am today had I not walked through the hard season, had I not walked through the hurt, through the damage, through the consequences, I don't think I would be here. And I don't think I would be near as passionate about some of the things that I'm passionate about. I wouldn't be so passionate about how the next generation is impacted by social media and mental health daily if I didn't walk through it myself. And I'll tell you, I thought getting secret social media made me a punk. I thought I was a bad mamma jamma because I had social media and my mama didn't know about it. I called I was telling my brother about the sermon the other day, and I said, my 15-year-old punk self, he goes, that does not make you a punk. Okay, anyways. So I thought I was a punk. I thought I was good stuff, you know? So there are 7 things that were in place for me specifically, but there are 7 things that social media impacts on the daily in young people. 1 is feeling increased anxiety, depression, and or loneliness. Check, check, and check. Spending more time on social media than with friends and families. It is one of the saddest things when I go to dinner and I see families just staring into their phones, not even speaking to one another. I'm like, you're in a work uniform. Tell them about your day. You're in a school uniform. Tell them about your day at school. My mom got to the point where she saw all of our phones. We were out. We're typing away. Right? And my mom says, put them in the middle of the table. First one to pick them up pays the bill. I said, I ain't got a job. I ain't touching that thing. I'm good. I'll pass on that one. Caden's sitting over there like, right? It's like, zzz, 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 I'm like, you can pick it up. But then I'm ordering steak, right? So you're paying, so I'm in, right? So I wasn't going to touch it. I was like, all right. And then, of course, my dad, he'd be like, oh, no, none of you got the money to pay, so I'm paying, right? And he'd end up picking up the check anyways, but that's what dads do, right? Amen to the dads, yeah? Okay. So then there's comparing yourself with others frequently or feeling jealous. People only put the good part of their life on social media. You see the beach vacations, the fancy church lights. You see the fancy clothes and the shopping days and the Dutch Bros runs. But you don't see the hurting in the home. You don't see that because they bought that Dutch Bros, they might come up short on a bill later. Been there. Sometimes I buy coffee and I'm like, that would have been really good towards the car payment, but here we are. I need some gas in my car. Too bad I bought an $8 coffee from Starbucks, right? So people are going to put the good side, and you'll start to think, why is my life not like that? Why do I not get to go to Florida every other week? Why do I not get to go on cruises every Christmas? Why do I not get to do this? Why do they always have the cutest shoes and I stuck with my New Balances? I don't know. I was just thinking of something. If you have New Balances, please don't take offense. I just thought of the first. I'm sorry. I feel like I just poked some nerves. All right. Next thing, being trolled or cyberbullied online. People do a lot behind a screen because they don't think they'll get caught. Mamas are FBI agents, amen, mamas? You can find anything you're looking for. And sometimes your kids are like, dang it, right? They know how to just get into the computer, which is so funny because you always feel like with technology, the dads are like, all right, let me help you. But when it comes to finding stuff out about their kids, mamas are like, I don't even need help. Boom, found like 8 people, right? So then the next one is engaging in risky behaviors or posting outrageous photos to get likes and comments. Y'all, there's some things that I should not be seeing on Facebook. Too much exposed, right? Too much of your business. Don't put your whole life on Facebook, especially if you don't want people making remarks about it. Then don't put it on Facebook. Don't put out your business and not expect to get opinions. That's all I have to say. Then, noticing that your schoolwork or relationships are suffering. Relationships goes back to that disconnection point. Schoolwork, in college, I had this bad boy on the desk, and then professors would be like, hey, we need to put our phones away. Okay. I put it on my leg under the chair. As if they don't see me going like this, right? They don't see me looking down, the lights shining in my face at 8 a.m. Okay. So I thought I was smart. Then, lastly, which is one of the big ones, Deprioritizing self-care, such as eating right, exercise, sleep, and just mindfulness. Don't cause a fog. Have the common sense that you know you're supposed to have, and you get that with well-rested, well taken care of, and you're not so unfocused. Social media is a beautiful thing to stay connected with friends, family, get the latest on everybody's lives. Like, we bought a house, we got a dog, we're pregnant, we're engaged. I made the joke last service. I go to a Bible college, we're engaged, right? And I'm like, when is it my turn? I go to a Bible college, hello, right? So they always are like, my favorite thing on TikTok right now is when they're like, you're 2 weeks in your Bible college, and it's like, Mom, come get me. People are getting engaged. Like, it's real, okay? So, but then it's also become a place for people to be hateful, for people to complain, for people to post their political views, their opinions on laws that have been passed, their opinions on the president, their opinions on the government in general, just to cause a scene in the comment section. Sometimes people comment on the suggested pages, like the suggested for you, politics of Texas. Like, why are you commenting on that? Why is that popping up on my feed that so-and-so commented on that? That's unnecessary. There's no reason. But then it's just bickering back and forth, and then you see that person in church, and they're like, hey, you look so pretty today. And I'm like, do not even come for me right now because you were really attacking me on Facebook last night. Don't even. Don't you even, Karen. Like, leave me alone. Step back. I don't want it. I got Tina real good. Okay. So, the question I have for you is, you may be thriving socially, but where are you spiritually? Point number 1 is, do we focus on our followers or who we should be following? Proverbs 18:24 says, one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. God calls us to love others with his love, a spiritual love. Love your neighbor and your enemy with God's perfect love. The reliable will come into your life as a result, and the unreliable will stay away. I learned very quick my reliable and my unreliable friends. In my darkest season, I had a lot of people say, you know what, one less problem without you. But I had a lot of people that saw me huddling up in my corner, and they said, hey, I got you. It's okay to cry. I'm here for you. It's gonna happen. So popularity was always based upon likes and follows, but looking at who follows you and who you follow, how many times do you intentionally make time to talk to them, communicate with them, check on them, pray for them, or even see them in person? I know y'all probably all got a lot of friends on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat. I'm not saying you don't have those. I'm not talking to teenagers. I was going to go Instagram with teenagers because teenagers think Facebook's old. Anyways. So how many times are you intentional with this person? If you went through your list, I can tell you about 17 people that I talk to pretty much on the daily. Most of them are sitting in this room right now that I will text and say, hey, you know what? I just need a little bit of extra prayer today. Or, hey, you know what? I'm praying for you, thinking about you, love you. There's 2 people in here that I intentionally make time during the week. On Tuesdays, that's our day. Because I found those people and I was intentional with them. And let me tell you, after Tuesdays, I don't care what you throw at me, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm in, right? Because I'm a quality time person also. Man, that is a rough one. I'm a quality time person. So you hang out with me, you spend time with me, you're my favorite person in the world. That's just about how it goes. I let everybody in, you know? So at the end of the day, who has your back? Who from the 500 plus would drop everything and hold your hand or hold you accountable when you need it most? If you can't pick out at least a hand, you're looking at the wrong people. You're chasing after the wrong people and the wrong kind of popularity and clout. If we seek after Jesus as much as we seek after likes, comments, shares, followers, imagine how much stronger your relationship with him would be. if you sought after him as much as you're like, let me post this picture and see if anybody likes it. Or I'm going to post this TikTok, hashtag it for you page so that it pops up on everybody's phone. If you did that, as much as you said, you know what, let me go tell people about Jesus. Or, hey, God, you know, I had a really good day today. Just want to thank you for just all the blessings you gave me today. I was able to afford lunch. I was able to put gas in my car. I was able to go pay for a brand new tire and not even freak out that I wasn't going to make my next payment. When are the times that you take time to thank him rather than trying to be something over him? Quit trying to be worshiped and worship. If we spent time in our word or praying as much as we spend scrolling through social media, imagine how much bigger our faith would be. Because you're constantly feeding yourself the word. You're constantly listening for his voice. You're going to get answers. But don't be praying for answers on things and then not giving him the time of day once you ask. Don't ask for something and then say, he'll do whatever he wants to do. I'm going to go do this. Go do those things. That's fine. But make sure you come back. Say, hey, God, again, thank you for today. I feel better already. I feel more at peace. He wants to hear from you. He sees you and he values you. And you wouldn't be here if he didn't want to hear from you. Point number 2 is hiding behind the filter. I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't use filters because I do. I'm very pale. I like a little bit of tan. That's okay. I'm content with that. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, if you use filters, blah, blah, blah. No. People use filters to conform who they are. People use filters to alter their image. You all know Pastor Todd. You all love Pastor Todd. And you know what he looks like. Filters can change that. Boom. Comical relief. Thank you. First of all, tell me if you were a first-time guest and homeboy came up to you and was like, I'm Pastor Todd. Ooh. I think you should stay over there. Put him in the drum cage more often, right? Just so you can't really see him, right? So, but it's a totally different look. Snapchat's a beautiful thing, let me tell you. I hunted for that filter. I said, all right, let's find something. I looked up stupid filter. That's literally what I looked up in my search. And bam, right? So, hiding behind the filter. That changed how Pastor Todd looked. For you created my inner being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that fully well. Psalm 139, 13 through 14. Do you believe it? Do you actually grab onto those words? You are fearfully and wonderfully made. If you do, congratulations. Stop trying to change yourself. Stop trying to be something and someone you're not. If you don't believe those words, we're going to change that. So hold on a second. All right? Filters are fun, but they're also fake. Filters and colors, you can change to like black and white. Back in the olden days when they didn't have color. Why do we want to live in that? Why do we want to live in what was? Let's live in the now. God created you for a purpose. You wouldn't look the way you look if there wasn't a purpose. He sees beauty. He sees value. And he sees strength and vision. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have a purpose. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. So quit saying you're not good enough. Quit finding ways to make yourself look different if you believe it. Grab onto it. Sure, silly filters can be great for a laugh, but there are young people and older people that whiten their teeth, airbrush their bodies to look different. Photoshop is an app. And they try to hide their imperfections and create false illusions. You've all heard the term catfish. You lure someone into a relationship by means of a fictional online physical persona. I watched a movie the other day. It was about somebody getting catfished. And it was a pretty guy. And the nerd was the one talking on the phone at night till 2 a.m. or falling asleep on the phone. You know, the cute little cheesy stuff, right? So then she goes to surprise this pretty guy and sees the nerd and is like, oh, wait a minute. That ain't for me. And it's like, why? Just because he doesn't look the way you wanted him to? Now, she was mad. Why did you pretend to be something you're not? But see, I think if you're true to yourself, you'll find it very easy to be loved and welcomed by someone. But if you pretend to be someone, you're going to get stuck. You're not going to know who to be that day. At one point, I was 3 different people. I was a different person in the house, I was a different person in the church, and I was a different person at school. Don't get so caught up in being something you're not on social media and then trying to be the person you really are in person, because you're going to flip-flop so much you're going to be confused on who you actually are. You will lose your identity. Social media is the thief of identity. Because if you don't hold up to the people's standards, they want nothing to do with you. But you know whose standards you do hold up to? The Lord's. He says, come as you are. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are my son. You are my daughter. I call you by name. I knit you together in your mother's womb. I knew you before your mother knew you. I mean, that's pretty, for me, I would jump from the mountains and shout from the rooftop, because that's the kind of God I serve. Even if you know that posts are filtered and altered to make it look all dreamy and amazing, right? You know, like the little music behind, doo-doo, like when everything's so fun, you start to feel impossible to living up to other people's lives. You think your life just isn't as glamorous. I'm just not as blessed. No, that's wrong. You only see that side. Social media only shows parts of their or your story. Try to see filters for what they are. A fun tool to make yourself look silly. My favorite one is the cry filter on Snapchat. That makes your face look, right? My favorite thing is to put it on kids that don't understand filters. Jonah Barham. And it just coats his face, and he's just, huh? What? And he's like, like trying to make it smile, and it won't smile, and he's just getting so frustrated. Like, why? Why is it not working? I don't look like that. And it's so cool to watch, because you see him getting frustrated because it's not who he is. It's not what Jonah sees in pictures, in the mirror. It's not what mom and dad tell him. So when it was on the camera, he said, oh, wait. He didn't say that. If he had said that clearly, I'd have been, what? I'd call Crystal immediately. What? Just kidding. So don't try to be somebody different online. Don't be something that shifts who you are. Don't use filters to change your identity. Be true to yourself, and you'll see favor in your honesty. Number 3, you wouldn't say that to my face. Ephesians 4:15 and 16 says, instead we will speak in truth and love, growing in every way more and more like Christ, who is the lead of his body, the church. He makes the whole body fit together perfectly as each part does its own special work. It helps the other parts grow so that the whole body is healthy and growing and full of love. We are the social network. It starts in person. Social media has not always been a thing. Hello. It's the best and the worst thing that's ever happened to this society, because we are the most disconnected generation I've ever seen. We believe everything on the internet. We feel like everything needs to be blasted on the internet. We feel like all our business needs to be super present. Why? There's something special about a face-to-face conversation. To speak truth in love includes how Christians communicate with believers and unbelievers alike. We cannot preach that we love people and then not love people when they come knocking on our door. People that you bash on Facebook in the comment section could walk through that door. How would they look at you? Would they say, oh, maybe they're getting Jesus too, praise God? Or would they say, I can't be here? Would they feel unwelcome because of how you made them feel from a comment? Or you've built up this high, I tell the youth all the time, do not put people on a pedestal, because then when they mess up, it hurts. It hurts bad. So don't be all high in glory in church so that people build you up on a pedestal and then go cuss out somebody on Facebook because you're mad at them. Or bash someone using their name, tagging them in the post to cause a scene. That's not loving people. And we're called to love. We're called to go out and make disciples. Spread the good news. You can't do that as a hypocrite. Sorry. You can't. People will say, well, I'm saying this, but I'd say it to their face. Would you? Come on. I know for me, I've been guilty of saying, oh, I'd tell them that to their face. Then the person stands in front of me and they're like, didn't you want to tell them something? I'm like, no, I'm good. You look good today. Blah. Right? Sometimes you say it with boldness, and then sometimes there's people that are like, yeah, let me say it to their face. And they'll step in front of you and they'll be like, there, right? And just throw it at you. But how many times do you ever think that they or you will say it to your face? Say it to their face. Some people have a hard time reading tone. If you know me, I'm some people. You put a period at the end of your sentence, and I'm like, they're mad at me. What? It's just proper punctuation, Zoe. What's your deal? They don't put an exclamation point next to thank you. I'm like, they're not actually thankful. I did something wrong. I didn't reach the full potential of the thank you, right? And I beat myself up. Or like dots make me so nervous. And iPhones do you dirty because if the message is too long, it's like, hey, can you come to my house? We need to talk. ... And it's like you're not in trouble. I just need to ask you a question. But all I saw was ... And I'm like, we need to talk, ... What do you mean? And I literally opened it and I'm like, oh, that was just Apple saying, the message is too long, right? Apple really shoots my anxiety up. Like, oh. So, sometimes we have to be affirmed. I've discovered recently that I am very much a words person. I used to always say, nah. Quality time, physical touch, I'm good. Then I learned when people don't tell me I'm doing a good job, I'm like, oh, am I doing a good job? Am I doing okay? Or I'll go, was that good? I sing on worship team, I'm like, Mo, I'm sorry I messed up. Was it okay? She's like, you're fine. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, stressing over what? But it's because I build up that I have to be affirmed. I have to do things. Some people take advantage of the distance to be hateful. Some people take advantage of the distance to be crude. How about we go the distance and meet them where they are? The love I have for Pastor Grant, Pastor Tina, my rec crew friends, I need to have the same love for who's ever sitting in Easy Mart trying to find coins in the parking lot because they don't know where their next paycheck is going to come from. They don't know how they're going to pay the payment on the car they finally could get, and they have 3 kids to feed. I have to show them the same love and the same open arms of, hey, I'm here, I got your back, as I would to any of you in this room. Just because you're in here doesn't make you entitled. Hello. There's plenty of other churches having church right now. There's plenty of people not in church right now that still have the value that you have, that still have the call that you have, the purpose that you have, or they wouldn't be here. And by here, I don't mean Hope Church. I mean the world. So what does this mean for us? We should be finding our friend in Jesus, and he will bring the people that matter into our lives. Are we seeking after God rather than the things of this world? Because he's the one that matters. If we fight for the best content, the followers, we lose sight of what we're called and who we're called to be. The world's standard, the world's expectation changes all the time. There's different trends. There's different fashion statements. Mom jeans made the best comeback ever, right? And now we're getting back into like the retro, like baggy pants, colorful jacket stuff. Like it's all coming back. There's trends, there's shifts, but there's gonna come a day that somebody's gonna walk out in mom jeans and they're like, what the heck are you wearing? Right? Because I used to be that person, what are they wearing? But now I love them. Catch me in my mom jeans, right? But because they change and shift so much, it causes a shaky ground. And you begin to not be able to keep your balance, and you fall, trying to meet the expectation of the world. The ground that never shakes is the ground that Jesus laid out for you. The firm foundation that we talk about, his name is Jesus. We don't mean good concrete or a good stage. We mean Jesus. Number 2 is we have to be what God calls us to be, not what the world wants us to be. If we follow the worldly standard, you and I will never make it. What is your standard for yourself when it comes to your relationship with Christ? Quit asking yourself, what do I need to be for the world? And ask, what can I be for God? What could I be for God if I just submitted and put my world aside and said, God, I'm stepping into what you have. I'm stepping into what you've got for me. Take it all. Here I am. People may not always accept how you look, act, or dress, but the Lord says, come as you are. As a young person, I see it all the time. People that I went to high school with had radical, just amazing testimonies, being just delivered from addiction, delivered from just lust and all these different things. And we're like, oh, God is doing such a good work. And then someone says it's not cool, and they said, oh, you're right. And then I see obituaries for friends that died in a car crash because they were drunk and they got behind a wheel. Or I have a friend that I keep on social media because we're accountability. I'm his accountability partner. Sometimes I feel like I do a bad job even though I try, because he'll do real good. And then I see posts doing drugs, partying it up, drinking his weight in alcohol, and it breaks me. But I know that I'm doing something right, because every once in a while, he texts me and says, hey, Zoe, I'm really hurting. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I want to be like, yeah, you do. Come on. But I have to love him through his dark season, because I had people who loved me through mine. I have a God who loves me through mine. So who am I to act like, well, you know exactly what's going on with you. Fix it. Who am I to do that? When all I can do is love them and pray that God really shift their standard, shift their mindset. That's all I can do. And when they finally come to terms with what God has for them, when they come to me and say, I'm sorry, or thank you, I'm gonna get to celebrate with them, because I never held myself higher. They were always my equal, though we were in different stages of life. We took different routes, but that didn't change that in high school, when I was at my lowest, he was the first one to say, Zoe, I'm a shoulder to cry on. I'm here for you. You are better than what they're making you out to be. You are who you say you are. I see a constant in you. He did that for me, so why can't I do that for him? And walk him through it. I still had to go through my dark season, but I had a hand to hold. Who is your hand to hold? Number 3 is understand that we can't control what others say or do, but we can control what leaves our mouth and how we act, because how we act and how we respond reflects the kingdom. I'm very public. I'm like, you know what? I go to Hope Church in Cleburne, Texas. I'm actually the next gen pastor. I grew up a pastor's kid. I've been in church my whole life. I was in the church every time the doors were open. I had no idea how hard it was till I got here, because my parents always made it seem so easy. But I'm very public about my faith. So if I'm so public, if I went out and was a jerk, what does that show that God is? How can I say I love like Christ and then go out and throw, boo, tomato, tomato, right? You're done. You reflect the kingdom in how you act. We all sit in what we could have done better, and we disturb our peace, and so we end up acting out of our flesh. There were times that the Lord could have lost his cool, but he didn't. I have a shirt that says, "This close to flipping tables like Jesus." There were times that he was angry. But James 1:19 says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry." Sometimes listening to someone is the only love and open door they need. If you're so quick to jump down their throat for something they did wrong, how can they ever feel valued or loved? But if you listen, there's hurt behind their hurtful words. You hear the term hurt people. Listen to their hurt. Be an open ear. Be a hand to hold. Be the social network that we're called to be. Go out and make disciples and love people well. So I guess just what I'm challenging you with today, and we'll have the altars open in a second, it's just going to be an ask of refocusing. God, let me not submit to what the world wants. Let me open the door to what you want. Let me have confidence and courage to step into what you want. So that's my challenge for you this morning. I'm not needing you to delete your social media, because I'm not going to. But I'm asking you to reflect on who you are behind a screen and who you are face to face. And make those the same person, but go with the good side, not the bad. So we'll turn off the lights, and pastors are going to come up front. Again, I just challenge you to ask God what it is you need to lay at his feet. Because no matter how many times you mess up, he's going to leave the 99 for the one. And when you're falling on your face in tears, saying, "I don't know what to do," he says, "Hey, I'm right here. Grab my hand, and I'll pull you up from where you are, because I know what you can be. And what you're gonna be is a purpose to grow the kingdom and to love people well and to lead well." So ask him the hard questions. Lay down the hard things. Be open. So I'm going to pray, and then we're going to have that moment, and y'all take your time. Do whatever you need to do. So, Lord, we thank you for today. I thank you for the opportunity we get to come in the house of the Lord and worship and hear your word. God, I just thank you for opportunities like this where we can surrender our all and come as we are, but we expect to be changed. We want to be pulled up by you to what we can be, God, not focus on what the world wants, not focus on the world's standard, but step into what you've called us to be and what you want us to be and what you see us doing. Affirm our purpose. God, accept us for who we are. We know you do. You sent your son to die for us so we would have the freedom for forgiveness. The freedom to come up to the altar and lay it at your feet and say, "I need you. So God, give that courage to whoever needs it today. In Jesus' name, amen.